So do we call this part 2 or is this...
We can call this part 2.
She gets a little excited. And she wanted us to talk also about how different my upbringing is from hers because of social media.
Well, not that. I said,
Okay.
No. I said how different our middle school experiences were.
Honestly, hold on, I'm going to move this forward. Honestly, I don't really remember.
You're not that old.
No,
you can't
because
not
I
remember.
went to school from 5th grade to senior year in high school at the same place.
Right.
Well, so did you. I don't know.
It's more like you grew up in the 80s and I'm 2020s. I'd say the main difference is social media. I mean, I know the way that it's affected me. So, I don't know about you. Maybe there was like group calls or something back in your day. But in mine, people would make group chats. If you were a part of that group chat and you're watching this now, stop watching it now. Thank you. But, so I'm gonna throw some shade. But, long story short, someone had made like a class group chat, which I was not a part of, thank God. And they started saying things from like, someone sent an Instagram post about something political. A lot of people got mad. Someone cursed. We ended up having to talk about it in class. Everyone that was not in that group chat, including me, felt like, oh, that was a thing. And the rest of them felt really embarrassed because, you know, suddenly their outside of school thing had to be brought up because they were discussing inappropriate, well, maybe not inappropriate, but not things that should be discussed as a class. In the manner that they were discussing it in, right? So that's how it's had an impact socially, like kind of seeing the levels of where you're at. Where do you get included in this? Do you get included in that? Do you follow this person? Do you not? Do you know this trend? I say this thing. Do you say this thing? Cancel culture has also been a big part of it too, because that's, I don't know if we would call that, would you call that recent years that that's become more of a thing? I think with the pandemic, yeah.
Well, because we were home and all we had to do was watch videos and watch
and judge people.
Postings.
Yeah. So
I think that, I'm going to tell you what I think one of the biggest differences in middle school, that all that petty stuff and all that social anxiety stuff that you guys deal with, that follows, that you deal with 24/7 because of social media and texting and cell phones, we were able to disconnect from it.
Yeah.
So in order for someone to bother me, they could only do it at school because I wouldn't give them my phone number. And if they had my phone number, it was a house phone
and they had
that
to
my
go through
father
your dad
would
first.
answer. And they were too embarrassed to ask for me. And that was it. So you could leave that crap, that anxiety, that bullying, all that stuff at home.
Yeah.
Now it follows you 24/7. And that's why when they ask for Instagram, for Snapchat, for a phone to text, to be in WhatsApp and groups, at the beginning, they love it. They find this freedom. But I've noticed that at some point you've learned that all that is just saturating your brain and it's not good for your mental health. And they end up, at least in our case, she has ended up pulling back from doing all that stuff and posting. And when I said, do you want to be part of that school chat? She's like, no, heck no, because I don't want one more thing to have to worry about socially.
So that's definitely a difference.
That, I think it's a big difference.
Yeah.
I also think that you guys are more in tune with who you are and respect each other and other people in that sense.
Right. And I think it's become more of the norm since, I don't know, the 90s.
Plus, you're also being spoken to about school shootings. We didn't have to grow
I was going to say that too, that we're more informed.
You are spoken to about sexual harassment, which in the 80s we didn't talk about that. And you are spoken to about gender fluidity and everything that goes with that, and all the conversations that you guys have about expressing yourselves in whatever way you want it. As I told you, your dad and I grew up with gay and straight. That's all we knew, and that's what we accepted. And even accepting gay and lesbian was like incredible. It was like, oh my God, we have to be accepting. And we taught our parents that. And now you are teaching us about it's not black and white, it's all these gray areas, and that, you know, all these things about non-binary, binary, they, mix, all that stuff that your dad and I are confused about, you guys navigated very well, which I think it's going to make you a more tolerant society.
Right.
At least she hopes.
I kind of pray. I think every generation has a bad apple, and I love how every generation will say, "You're the future of us. Carry us on, you perfect people," and then we're scared. So
I think that you guys are normalizing what we didn't want to. I think the more you expose people to things, like I think that when people ask me, "How do you deal with racism?" I say, "I am overtly Latina. Like I carry it as a badge of honor, and I'm in your face about it." And in your face, not in a way that I'm aggressive or violent with my culture, but I think the more I expose you to who I really am, the less fear you'll have. And I think that is what your generation is very good at. If a guy wants to paint his fingernails, doesn't necessarily mean that we have to put him in a box about being gay.
Right.
He could just be a straight guy, or is it non-binary? Como es que?
Just leave it as straight guy, because there's too many.
But that's the thing, and for me, learning to say, if I see somebody that is dressed in a way that I can't put in a box, ask what the pronoun is. Just have a conversation with that person.
Right.
And I think that is what I've learned from your generation.
It's gonna become the new norm with our generation, whether you like it or not. Yeah.
And I hope that tolerance translates into different faiths and different races and you know, different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Because I think that I hope that kind of acceptance can go to the root of other discrimination.
And I think this is more the activist generation, if you will.
Yes.
So we will
because
say something.
Even the kids in middle school, and in the other video you say have la bobera. You guys have engaged in conversations about Ukraine.
And I can agree with them on certain topics. And that's why I'm also very grateful for staying informed and having teachers who care about social issues and will discuss them with you.
And that's also, I think, the positive thing about social media. You have seen on TikTok things that you won't see in mainstream media that have alerted us to a lot of things. But I think it's also important that you keep your communication open with your child, or your child communicates with some adult, an aunt, an uncle, a godparent, somebody in their lives that they can express all this stuff. Because when the war in Ukraine happened, she was saturated by information from TikTok, and I had to talk her off the ledge in putting that, you know, figuratively, and kind of tell her, you need to stop watching this, because the world continues moving and turning, and I need to keep feeding you. You need to keep going to school. You need to keep, you know, you need to make sure that you don't, you know, you are safe in the city of Chicago, in your school, and we will do for Ukraine what we can do. So I think that's where the personal contact is important. You're also the pandemic generation, so you've been through a lot where you have been disconnected socially.
I think we're going to be really clean as a generation.
Right.
There'll be hand sanitizer everywhere. We're always going to be washing our hands. Oh, really cautious, I hope.
So there you go. This is what different generations. I had her when I was 33, so this is what 33 years difference.
Yeah.
We're learning from each other.
What phone did you have at my age?
Their phone, the house phone.
Like the thing attached to the wall or the brick?
The thing attached to the wall. No cell phones on. The brick
80s,
was when I started working in the 90s. Okay, 80s. Let us know, what is the biggest generation gap you see with your kids? What have you learned from your kids? What have you had to adapt in your behavior? And what your kids appreciate from your experience? Leave it in the comments and don't forget to subscribe.